Welcome to my channel, MGT Style. I'm Sadiqa Shabazz, the head tailor, pattern developer, and owner of Lady Shabazz Bespoke Tailoring. We specialize in high fashion modesty, where we extract the beauty from immodest clothing and we make it totally modest without compromising our principles and style. And we also provide a sewing consultation service for those who are interested in upgrading their skills to the next level, as well as an image consulting consultation. You can visit us and make your schedule, set an appointment with us at ladyshabazz.com. So let's get into this video. So in this video today, we are executing the plans for this pattern. And this pattern here, like I told you in a couple of videos before, this is Vogue V8772, okay? And I'm going to create view C of this pattern, okay? So right now, as you see, I laid out my pattern, I ironed it out, I washed my fabric, but I want you to do at home, if you're a beginner, what you want to do is use a muslin fabric first, a test fabric first before you get into your fashion fabric. I'm not going to cut out my fashion fabric right now. I'm just showing and demonstrating you all the steps and the methods of creating ease in your shirt pattern. Now, the misconception is that when you're a beginner, and not necessarily when you're a beginner, but it's usually taught like in the beginning stages, when you get your pattern from the pattern store, cut it out according to your size, sew it together, that's it. No, that's not how it goes. And you probably understand what I'm talking about, because once you put on the garment, it doesn't fit, right? Because our body measurements are not compatible with what the pattern is in the pattern envelope. Obviously, we're different shapes, we're different sizes, so we need to create those adjustments on the pattern itself. Let's get into this. So I already have my own measurements, and I'm going to use my measurements because this garment will be for me, right? The dress shirt will be for me. Don't worry too much about how I'm doing it. Just worry about the principles and the strategies and method in which I am demonstrating to you all. And then you all will be able to put it into that fine technique that you know and understand. This is for those who are pretty familiar with drafting patterns or creating garments in general. All right, so I'm going to start with my bust. I know you can't see from bird's eye view. That's why I'm going to use my favorite friend here. Her name is Bathsheba. My dress form, she's in every picture and video. She's always standing post and just ready to, you know, for that fashion look. So Bathsheba here, let me bring her to the forefront so you all can take a good look at her. So what I usually do is I take my measurements without ease, right? Because I want to know what is my body structure. I want to know the exact measurements of my body structure. So my bust is 32 inches in circumference. So I will measure around the circumference of my bust, take those measurements, and write it down on a sheet of paper. So then from there, let me just show you, demonstrate this real quick to you. Bear with me, okay? So 32 inches. So let's just pretend I went around Bathsheba's bust and it's 32 inches, right? So I'm going to make it tight. Maybe not so tight, but I'm not going to create ease. Just like I said before, I want to know what my body structure is, because I'm going to create a moulage. And a moulage is, in a block pattern, is that I want to know what my measurements are so I can properly plot those points onto the pattern, okay? So once again, 32 inches in bust, write that down. Whatever your measurements are, you're going to write that down. Then you want to know what is the depth, right? So you measure from where your bust is, and you want to know what is the depth to your, let's see what I have here, waist. So from your bust down to your waist, you want to know exactly what is the depth, so you know where to plot the next point. So my depth is, from my bust to my waist, is 8 inches. So this is what this looks like. If the bust is here, I'm going to plot here. Now I'm going to make an extensive video about this information, and I'm going to show you on a bird's eye view what I mean. Okay, so you'll be able to see exactly what I'm trying to demonstrate and illustrate to you all. So the circumference is 32 inches. The depth now is 8 inches from the bust to the waist. So now the waist is 8 inches. And what is the waist in circumference? My waist in circumference is 38.5. So what I do is I measure 8 inches down, right? Excuse me. (32 inches). Now this is the circumference. So I want half of this. So what is half of 32 inches? I break that down. 16, and then I want to make a third of that, and that will be 8 inches. So I'll measure. Now I'll plot my points. 8 inches. Don't worry, I'm going to show you from bird's eye view all of what I'm plotting, okay? So I have 8 inches, so that's one side, 8 inches, right? Then I'm going to come down from the bust down 8 inches, because I measured from the bust to the depth of the next plot, which is the waist. So my waist is 8 inches from the bust to the waist is 8 inches. So I'm plotting down 8 inches. Plot down 8 inches. 8 inches is right here. I'm going to use that's what it looks like, okay, from bird's eye view. Next. From my waist to my hips is 5 inches. So I'm going to plot that down 5 inches. (5 inches). Okay, so my hips are 34.5. 34.5 in circumference, right? So we're going to pretend here. Bathsheba's, she's going to represent my measurements, okay? So Bathsheba's hips are 34 inches and a half. So I want to break that down. Half of that is 17. Break it down again. What do we have? 8.5 inches. So 8.5 inches, just this side, because we're only doing one panel of the pattern, one side of the body, this area here, okay? So that's 8.5. My Depth is 3.5 inches down to my lower hip. So from my hips, 3 inches down to my lower hip is 3 inches down, right? So my lower hip is 35.5. 35.5 inches. .5 inches in circumference. We're going to break that down. .9 inches. So I'm going to plot that. I'm going to plot that point. Now, what I'm going to do next is I have to add the ease. At every point of the body, the bust, 8 inches down, the waist, 28 inches, 5 inches down in depth, 34.5 inches, 3.5 inches down in depth is 35.5. This is what creates that curve of the body, right? So we don't want our garments to have this curvature silhouette. We are modest women, and we want our garments to have a nice, even flow. We don't want a lot of fabric along the seam lines. We want just enough for it to flow, you know, and hide away some of our secret shapes and sizes, right? That we don't want the world to see. Because it's precious to us, it's valuable to us, and everybody don't have to see all of that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create ease appropriate for every area of the body. Now, for an example, the bust area, I maybe want 2 inches of ease, right? I may want 2 inches of ease there. Maybe 2.5, because a 1/2 inch, I need that for the sewing allowance, right? That area where you sew, and I don't want to disturb the actual seam of the garment and it'll be too tight. I don't want that, right? So now the hip area, excuse me, the waist area, I can use 2.5 also, right? But now the hips, excuse me, the waist, the hip area, I may want to add like 3 inches, okay? Because I don't want this area to protrude out from my garment. I don't want people to see, I want that area to be hidden. So I may go for 3 inches, but the seam allowance may be a 1/2 inch. So 2 inches in actuality, but I'm going to go for 3 inches in that area. Okay, so if you have any further questions, let me know. We'll go into it more in depth. I know that was very interesting. Just let it marinate, and we're going to go over this even more. Also, I'm going to make another video so I can show you bird's eye view. I think I explained that before, so you can see actually how I'm plotting the points. So that's all that I have for you today, and thank you for following me on Instagram and Facebook, as well as YouTube, MGT Style. We also provide a sewing consultation for those who are interested in upgrading their skills, as well as image consultation at ladyshabazz.com. So if you're interested, schedule your appointment and we'd be more than happy to assist you further. So that's all that I have, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.